Buenos dias. This is Gringo CTO reporting live, but not live for you, in Mexico City. Just wanted to clear up a misunderstanding I've seen a lot in the world of databases. And so, a lot of times, if you look up any sort of comparison between databases, which is what this is, it's from about 3 months ago on Hacker News. Should I choose Postgres or MySQL in 2023? By the way, I have a video on that. I'll try to figure out a way to link it. But oftentimes, you'll see as a differentiator that you should use Postgres because PostGIS, the extension for location data, is, in this person's words, just so good. And that's actually not wrong. It's a great extension for Postgres. It lets you do pretty much anything you'd want to do with location data. Put points on a map, search for points by location, draw a little bounding rectangle and find all points within that rectangle. Whatever you really want to do, realistically, it can do. And it's turned into something of a standard interface on top of location data. What a lot of people don't realize is that it is not an exclusive feature to Postgres or Postgres ecosystem, more precisely, anymore. In fact, SQLite has an extension that does something very similar, and MySQL as well now has something very similar built in, which is what I'm going to show you guys today. So as a little bit of context, one of the products that I've built is called Planetscale. I'll show you guys the homepage. But the idea here is that we connect American real estate investors with real estate developments in Mexico and help people make hopefully lots of money and or find their dream home south of the border. Of course, as you might imagine, location data is a big part of what we do, and there's a mapping component that's front and center in our offering here. And so what we ended up doing is just relying on MySQL's built-in representation for location data. There is a point data type that you can place on a map in the data. And then you have all sorts of convenience functions enumerated here in the documentation. Things like distance sphere that will help you figure out the distance between your point or 2 points or what have you. So I'm going to show you what this actually looks like in the data. So we're actually using Planetscale, which is essentially hosted Vitesse. Vitesse in turn, if you haven't watched my other video, is just a scalable layer that sits between you and MySQL and allows you to shard your data more or less transparently. So you get essentially infinite scalability, within the definition of infinite as far as we can define it, but without the complexity of having to manage all of that topology yourself. But anyway, neither here nor there. This is vanilla MySQL for our purposes that we're dealing with today. So you can see here I've started out, we have a table called listings where the listings I just showed you all live. And this query will let you find all of the listings that are within a certain distance of a point. So these coordinates here are essentially a point in Puerto Vallarta, which is where most of our properties are. And you can see I'm looking for a range of less than 10 meters from that point. Of course, nothing is going to come up when it's that small, but you can see that if I expand the scope of my search a little bit, so now we're dealing with a 1 kilometer radius, I can find a couple of properties that come back. If I expand that further to many more properties, etc. And so what's cool about that is you can do lots of things like find your user's location, like geolocate based on IP or anything else. And then once you have that point, you just have a simple filter in your UI where you say, do you want to find properties within a certain distance of where you are currently or some reference point that you might choose in the future. And you can very easily construct something like this. And because you're not having to pull anything into the application, this all takes place inside the SQL layer, and it's extremely fast for that reason. The only other kind of piece of this puzzle is how do you integrate it with your app. In the case of Laravel, which we use to build Planetscale, there's a package here. This is one of the reasons I love Laravel is that even if something is not built in, there's usually a very high quality community package that you can just pull in. So you can see here that we have one called Laravel Eloquent Spatial from this person's name that I won't attempt to pronounce because I will probably get it wrong. But Matan, I guess, helped us out with this one. And I actually reviewed the code. I mean, it doesn't have a ton of people using it necessarily, but I did review the code, and I feel like if it ever went stale or abandoned, I could easily adopt it and maintain it myself. But this gives us a very nice Laravel native interface to this MySQL data type, and very convenient to work with in the application as well. So anytime we're uploading a property, we just have an interface in Filament, our admin panel, that in turn creates a new point object, which in turn saves a MySQL point in our database. And then that becomes something that we can come back and search in this way if we ever need to. Much more performantly than trying to, for example, pull all of this down into the app layer and do some sort of trigonometry or something to figure out what falls within a rectangle or what have you. And last point I didn't bring up here is I didn't remember offhand off the top of my head how to do the query for this video. So ChatGPT is actually a really good tool for this kind of stuff. And so I just started with a very simple prompt that I wanted a MySQL query for finding all points within 10K of PV. And was able to get, I would say, about 90% of the way there. I had to tweak a couple of things around aligning the SRID, which is essentially the coordinate system, but they were minor tweaks. And it was a lot less hassle than trying to parse what I should use from, the official docs. These are actually not bad. It's just, much easier to describe what I want here and get something that approximates the true solution. So if you have access to ChatGPT, especially V4, it's a great source for that sort of stuff, a great resource, I should say. And just know that sometimes you only get 90% of the way there and have to tweak the rest yourself. But yeah, no, it was a great help in getting this video ready to go. So anyway, just in summary, things change. I think a lot of folks in sort of the database world maybe used, for example, they used MySQL, let's say 15 years ago, got burned by some non-standard thing, or more precisely, just a bad behavior, and switched to Postgres and never looked back. The problem at a fundamental level is that a lot of times, if you go look up this thread, which I recommend on Hacker News, it's like there's a lot of people who haven't used one solution or the other in, let's say, decades, who still think that, the competitor has frozen in time and never moved forward. And the truth of the matter is, well, now if you go to MySQL, you have stuff like location support built in. You have CTEs and window functions, a lot of stuff that people think only exists in Postgres. And not to say that Postgres is a bad database. I've used it many times and I think very highly of it. But just to say that these days, there might be a reason to choose one versus the other. But in this particular case, the idea that I need to do location relevant stuff, therefore I have to choose Postgres, is simply no longer true. MySQL has it built in, so you don't even need the extension. It's maintained by Oracle. And SQLite actually has an extension as well, if you feel like living a little bit dangerously and going that direction. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. Any questions, comments, suggestions, hit me up in the comment section. And also, worth reminding, this is a very new channel, and I think I have 13 subscribers at the time of this recording. So please do me a favor, like, subscribe, spread the love, spread the word. I'm not actually doing this to make money. It's just to share knowledge that I've accumulated over, decades, and, hopefully give back a little bit to the world. So I'll talk more about my mission and vision for this channel at some point in the near future. But yeah, no, just please help the channel. I do this mostly for helping others and, because it's fun. So yeah, if you're in the mood, throw me a like and subscribe. All right, thanks guys. Talk soon.